And I would tell you, both of you guys, thank you this morning for the presentation. Looking forward to seeing it. So,
awesome. And are you all able to see the screen? See the PowerPoint?
yes. Yep.
I'm going to try to go into screen show mode. Sometimes that gets wonky. Is that still working on for everybody? All right, cool. So I'm Abe Cohen. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at KPA. And Dagan is a Director of Business Development, but he's much more than that. He's one of the founders of iScout, which is the software we're going to show today. So he helped build the software from his experiences out in the field. And so, really excited that Dagan joined me. And I'll just give a quick overview of, who we are. First of all, I like to start by just saying we are very proud to be associated with ABC. So we're one of the 15 or so national tech alliance partners, working nationally with ABC. And we are the one and only very proud sponsor of the safety performance report. So we're just a huge fan of what ABC does in terms of STEP and, everything to keep folks safe. It's right in line with what we do every day. So very proud to sponsor that. At the very highest level, what we do is help companies stay safe. And that also comes with saving money, lowering risk, not getting fined, and all of the other kind of financial benefits. Three key pillars of what we do is environmental health and safety. Not everybody knows what EHS stands for. So EHS software training, we actually have over 700 training courses. A lot of it we develop ourselves. So unlike a lot of software companies, we actually have a training arm for online training and even in-person training. And then we have consultants. We have roughly 125 consultants across the United States, including Michigan. So we do have people on the actual street. Some of them came from OSHA directly, and there a lot of them are, certified safety professionals. Pretty much anything you can think of there, we've got experts, whether it's confined space safety, forklift safety, ladder safety, all the, any area of safety, we've got expertise in addition to the software. This is a little bit of like a, braggadocious slide, so apologies for that. But just to give you a sense of our scope, we do have over 10,000 clients. KPA was actually founded in 1986. So, coming up on 40 years, so been around for a long time. Very proud to have really high customer satisfaction, and the clients that we have stick with us. So I think that's a big deal. And then just a couple slides on the software before I turn it over to Dagan. I think what makes, our focus, and also what makes us different, I think, from a lot of software companies, is that we want to empower the user to engage. And so it has to be easy. Someone out on a job site, whether it's, regardless of the role, it has to be. We know that a lot of contractors, a lot of companies, the people on the front lines of safety aren't necessarily super tech savvy. So engagement is the key for the people who are, the safety directors or the people who are really in charge of the whole system. It's very easy to configure just to the needs of any particular contractor. You can set it up however you want to set it up, and it's actually easy to do that based on your specific, business model, whether you're a GC or a subcontractor. And why it matters to get this engagement is it gets people using the software, and Dagan will show you some of the ways that happens. When people use the software, whether it's, for toolbox talks or the training, mobile training, or, logging near misses or issues with equipment, that gives more data for the system in an automated and fast way. It gives the, executives in any company a view into where the risks are, so they can actually take actions and improve things when it comes to safety. So that's very simple sort of, diagram showing how it works, but it really does work for our clients. And then why is it not advancing? My last slide is just, mobile first design. So we definitely know that, out in the field, sometimes offline, people need access to simple, easy to use software. So we've got a very flexible LMS, learning management system. So for courses, that can be customized and configured and actually taken in a very easy manner out in the field. For companies that want to manage equipment or equipment inspections, we've got QR codes and scanners, and Dagan can show this briefly, but we've got an equipment module to help manage all of that. communications is absolutely key. So, anyone out in the field being able to open up the app, know exactly what they need to do next in terms of training or inspections. And then, for some, contractors, this really does matter that it's, it can be translated into multiple languages. So if there are, folks in the field that speak Spanish or another language, that it can easily be translated for their use. So unless there's any questions up front on just KPA, the company, I can turn it over to Dagan.
Thank you, Abe. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to share a screen as well. So let me know if you would with a thumbs up or something that you all can see that okay. Great, thank you. So my background, one of the 3 co-founders of this product, and my older brother is one of the other 2. And he and I overlapped at a company here in Oklahoma City that was an oil field service company. And I was director of ops for the Mid-Con region, and he was the VP of safety. And everything was on paper forms and spreadsheets. And it was just a really difficult way to stay compliant. So, I always kind of refer to it as equal parts brilliance and stupidity on our part. We decided that we could go out and make a product that was better than what we had spent 1.5 years looking for. And the end result was a version 1 of what you'll see today. And we've been improving this product and will continue to do so. So it does a lot more today than it did back when it was originally launched in 2014. But very shortly after we had achieved kind of this, hey, we've got something here. I had some relationships with a general contractor here in Oklahoma City, Brian Timberlake with Timberlake Construction, a family-owned construction company, and sat down with them and really we're asking the question, hey, this thing that we've got that we are creating a solution for our needs in oil and gas services, how well does it translate to construction? And they were a customer by the end of the conversation. And so what we found was any industry that has laborers, equipment, and procedural operational processes, like it's a fit. There are requirements and regulations that are expected of them, and this makes it reasonable that they would need a software to maintain those compliances rather than paper and spreadsheets. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through the app. I've got to let my here we go. So I'm going to share my app here, and just like Abe had mentioned, a native app focused tool for the employees in the field was critical. The ability to have access and a communication tool and to understand what is expected of me needs to be very, very simple. I have this KPA EHS app there on my home screen. You can see I'm going to open that up. So this Derek Brown character is kind of our tour guide employee through this demo. But when he logs in, the expectation, just like every other app you have on your phone, you expect to be able to download the app and just start using it. And if you can't self-teach what that app does, if you can't, or self-learn, I should say, then you're probably going to delete it and find an alternative, right? If I have to take an hour-long class on how to use Spotify, I'm probably going to find another music service. So that's the exact same mentality we have with employees. They are hired this morning. They get a username and password to this software later today. They log in, and no explanation beyond that is necessary other than download and log in. So these are the places that they can go. It starts with an open task list, and ease of use is a driving factor. So let's alert the employee at any given point that the system needs them to act in any way. I shouldn't ever have to ask a question of if my fire extinguisher needs to be inspected, the system's going to communicate that automatically. So we use this open task tab to really drive participation from the user's perspective. You can see I've got a training that's required. If I have the LMS content enabled, I could just click on that particular lesson and take a 10-question quiz, and no need to pull me out of the field to teach me how to climb a ladder, or at least the awareness level for sure, but can easily do that through the open task list. A fire extinguisher that I'm responsible for is due to be completed. So we do have an equipment module that allows you to really track anything as an asset, create an audit or inspection for those items, and then assign the responsibility of those audits and inspections daily, weekly, monthly, annually to your employees. This question of the day, I'm kind of crossing my fingers here that you're going to be able to hear my computer audio. That is kind of a unique feature that we developed out of our LMS, where we're simply going to increase the exposure our employees have to our training curriculum, one question at a time. A lot of companies are achieving that with toolbox talks. Maybe I took hand safety 7 months ago as a new hire. And I can certainly speak for oil and gas. I've forgotten a lot about hand safety in 7 months, and depending on who my supervisor is, I've probably picked up some bad habits. So just to increase the exposure that we have with our training curriculum, in addition to toolbox talks, let me go back. We have the ability to kind of assign these little 10 to 15-second interactions with our training curriculum.
It takes 2.3 seconds on average to react to a road hazard. That doubles if you're texting.
Were you all able to hear that okay? Perfect. So I can see I've been presented with a slide at random here from a driver safety lesson, and then I'm going to be asked one question about that slide.
Your minimum following distance should be 2 seconds.
So I checked 4 seconds, I get it correct. Now, as far as my obligation to the question of the day, I'm finished, I answered it. But what really drives the users to anticipate it and to take it seriously is they have access to this leaderboard, which shows how they did compared to everyone else who received that particular question. So just a little bit of motivation for the employee to take it seriously, but we have a lot of customers that are employing this. There's lots of ways that you can deploy these questions based on what topics you want to quiz on, or the frequency of them. But a lot of customers are taking these a month at a time, and they're having a backward view. So the last day of the month, I have a report that shows me what topics we performed the poorest on, and who are my top performers as far as employees, and maybe I want to incentivize them for their performance and question of the day.
Dagan, I
Yes.
love that. Are they able to cancel out of it, or does it force them to answer it?
So you can actually control, there is a window of time. So you can control, hey, this is going to be live for 30 minutes. And if they don't answer it, that task would go away. Or you could say, this is there until they answer it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. This box knife without a safety tip with this little bell icon, that's an example of what we call an acknowledgement. So any communication that you want to send to the field, and better than a read receipt or like a phone tree, it is just a push notification to the device. It includes whatever text you include. So we see safety alerts, driver stand downs, weather advisories. It's an unfortunate reality of where we are in the world, but we see this as active shooter protocols for a lot of our customers, where they're asking their employees, there's an active shooter in your area, please mark yourself safe. And document and policy change is a really good use of this particular feature, because we can include attachments. So if there is a safety policy, or a project has a new set of documents that are associated with that project, and you need to communicate very quickly and make sure that the proper people have received and acknowledged receipt of that new information, you can include those there as an attachment. Then any communication you can mark as a signature required, and then they mark, I acknowledge this at the bottom. So just a really quick way we can communicate and then understand the performance of that communication. And then this last one in the open task list is from our workflow module, which just allows you to create any workflow that you would like. And is just a series of steps and actions taken based on some type of initial trigger, like a form being submitted. So we see incident workflows, maintenance workflows, management of change workflows, anything that you want to manage inside of the site. Every employee is going to have access to their profile. This is one of the offline elements of the platform. So no matter where they are, they will always have access to their profile information. Has some high-level employment details. ISN, if you're doing any work in the oil field and you're required to use ISN. If they're a regulated driver, we can manage all of their licenses and certs in the system. And then their profile also includes all of their active trainings. It will come with a certificate of completion as an attachment. And then if you're required to have any third-party trainings or your insurance carrier offers you a handful of lessons for free with a dedicated certificate, you can upload those as well. So they'll always be able to pull up information about themselves out in the field. This resources tab about halfway down, that's just a document library that we manage in the website, and you can distribute those documents to your employees through the app. You can manage these in folders or tags just to make them easier to search and filter through. And then we have a lot of customers that they already have an existing repository on SharePoint or Google Drive or Dropbox. So in our system, this can be a combination of PDFs and Word docs and PowerPoints and links to wherever your documents currently sit in some type of online storage. The goal there being, if I am participating in the software for most of my safety items, I shouldn't have to go to maybe the SharePoint app to access documents. So we're reducing the amount of places that the employee has to go, but you can use a third party to kind of feed this as well. We are really, like, I can smell the finish line tape. We are so close to offering SDS as a part of our resources tab, where we're going to have a library of a little over 70 million SDS sheets. And you'd be able to come in here and again, search those SDS sheets out in the field and be able to have that be part of your resource document.
We are announcing that next week as well. So just a preview. Yeah.
So on the forms tab, that is the last thing that I'll kind of show you here. The goal with forms, this was version 1.0. The ability to build a form that I want to distribute to the field and send it to the app. There's a forms editor that allows you control over what forms you want to create, what those forms include, the information that you're capturing. They are permission based. So when I, as an employee, come to this forms tab, I only see the forms I have permission to complete. Again, part of that is ease of use. If you end up with 100 forms, you don't want your employees to have to sift through those and potentially fill out the wrong form. And then forms are available to be completed offline as well. So we have offline access to all of these forms. If I'm out on a project outside of connectivity, I can still submit any number of forms throughout that day or week. And then once my connectivity resumes, those forms will automatically load back to the server. Ease of use, again, check boxes, drop-down menus, where we're tying to data list items throughout. Description fields, adding attachments. I will show you just kind of one brief function of every form. I'm going to add a photo here of my coffee there. So photos and videos, very easy to upload. If you can see these grayed out pill-shaped buttons alongside the right side of each field, I'm going to click on one of those. Always a way to add attachments, even if the form didn't include a field for it. Add notes as well, maybe by a supervisor who is reviewing this form after submission. And then there are real-time alerts flying all over the place as forms are being submitted, okay? And that's an awareness level, which is fantastic. It certainly beats a paper form as far as notifying people of the conditions. But maybe I want to go a step beyond that. And I not only want to make Eric aware that there's a condition exists, but I'm going to let Eric know that he's responsible for resolving that issue. So we do that by assigning what we call follow-ups. So just real quickly to see how this works in real time, I'm going to assign a follow-up to Derek Brown. Since I'm logged in as Derek, we'll get to see this. It's 9:23 here Central, plenty of time for Derek to knock this follow-up task out today. So I'll give him today. And I'll be really generic here, and I'll just say, please fix this. So as soon as I click submit, since I'm logged in as Derek Brown, I assign Derek Brown this follow-up wherever I'm sitting. Maybe I'm back at the office, I'm in a job site on another part of town. I immediately get this notification that I'm assigned a follow-up task. And so now on the backside, I can click on that. I can see that I'm supposed to fix something. So for reference, the See Response option button here opens up the form that was just submitted on another project. I can see all of the photos and videos associated with it. I can understand what's the project, who's the customer, what contractors involved, what is the issue I'm meant to resolve. And again, this is happening seconds after that was originally submitted. If I have authority to, and you control the authority for every action in the site, I could reassign that to someone I know who is available and has the proper skill set to go out and resolve that problem. Ultimately, we want all of our follow-ups resolved. I can say all fixed. I'm going to sign off that I conducted that follow-up task. Always a good practice to add attachments, just giving me a before and after of that particular issue. And I click save. So that's essentially activity in the app from someone out in the field from a user's perspective. I will come back here and show the code scanner briefly when we get to the equipment section. But any questions about the app environment related to an employee out in the field before we jump in and see more of an administrative view of the website? That's great. I'm always going to assume that I'm doing a great job if there aren't any questions. So if that's not the case, don't let me know. Okay, so I'm logging in now.
David?
Go ahead, Paul.
I'm sorry, I was speaking, my microphone was off.
Oh, that's okay.
Could you tell me how that data is stored? Is that cloud-based, or where's that data stored for our records? Say I'm a customer and I want to review my history.
Yep.
Where's all that stored?
So it is cloud-based, and we're hosted on Amazon Web Services, and we're redundant servers that are separated a little over 2,000 miles apart for our data centers. So being cloud-based, Paul, right here when I log into the website, this is where your data lives. This is where you access what we're making it easy to collect in the field, and we walk this fine line between ease of use for the end user, but like powerful analytics that are able to allow us to make change, right? Like this is all intended to keep employees safe and allow us to make change to make our work environments more safe. So from that perspective, it is web-based. You have access to this data here. There is a website tab in the app, and if you have connectivity in the app, you can access these same analytics over your smartphone or tablet. So it's all at your fingertips. I'm logged in as Derek Brown to this website, and he's an admin in the system. So his view as an admin, he has permission to do and see everything. An employee would only see about half those elements on the side menu. They would only see a dashboard data that they were given permission to see. But as an admin, I see my open tasks, and I actually have access to create this configurable dashboard. What data feeds these widgets, how it appears. You control really every element of the system. So if I'm a supervisor over 3 projects, then maybe my limitation is I can create a dashboard, but it's only pulling in data from those 3 projects because I don't need to see everyone else's information. So configurable dashboard is really, what are those things that are super important for you on a day-to-day basis to keep you engaged in this system? So maybe it's training, equipment information, incident, project-based. You determine what feeds the data that comes into your dashboard. So the Forms tab, I'm sorry, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say, as I look at the dashboard, is that easily communicated? So say I'm a director, or I want to communicate this to my executive group, depending on how my company's structured.
Sure.
Is it easy for me to maybe the training status or the injuries by body part, Or do I have to send the whole file, or can I communicate this through email or whatever it may be easily?
You can, and I'm going to show you several ways. One is to create this type of dashboard for for your executive based on what is important for them to see throughout the day. So they could have their own dashboard that might be different from yours. So every individual has the ability to have a dedicated dashboard with specific information. If they wanted injuries by body part, especially from the dashboard, if that's a widget here, you could just export a PDF or a CSV file directly from the widget and email it to your executive. Okay, so the dashboard is one way, dashboard exports are another. This forms tab is where you build forms, edit forms. We do have a library of very common forms that we are adding to frequently. These are just forms that we're commonly building for customers as we onboard them. There's BBS related forms, lots of different inspections for equipment. There's a whole COVID section. There's EPA, JSAs, incident inspections, maintenance requests. It's growing, but you're welcome to use, go ahead, Paul.
With these forms, Dagan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. No, I love it.
I gotta talk when I'm thinking.
That's okay.
So say I want to do an incident report, and I'm going to use the form that you're providing. Is there a way that I can to customize that to have my logo on it? If I'm a customer, in that question goes for all the forms. Is that possible?
It is possible. So just like you see this ABC of Greater Michigan up here and the logo above, that would be your company logo. And it would come on every report that you want to send. We're going to represent the form data as it's your data. So you need to get credit for it. So your logo's up at the top. Okay. So each of your site will be custom branded with whatever logo you wish. But
Thank you.
You're welcome. So you mentioned the incident report. So if you import our incident report, it's pretty common. It's pretty boilerplate. So you might want to jump in and then make edits to any of the templates that you import from our library and make them more custom to the equipment, the processes, anything that you'd want to create a data point for in that form. You can. So you can edit anything that we give you. So going back to, well, we filled them out in the field. You can fill the forms out on your website as well. But access to the data. So I have the dashboard. We also have this light blue responses tab. And this is where every field that you build into your form is now a filter that I can use to really nail down a specific data set. So I could say, hey, this is that near miss we filled out. But I want to see the last 30 days of near misses where Yates Electric was marked as the contractor and the severity was marked as higher critical. Okay. So if I went into this near miss tomorrow and added a field for favorite ice cream flavor, now I can filter by chocolate moving forward, right? Because chocolate's the right answer, by the way.
Butter pecan.
I'm sorry?
Butter pecan.
Oh, buttered pecan. Okay, well.
No, Paul, you're wrong. No, absolutely not.
So
that's the wrong answer.
All of those. So once you get your data set like filtered out, like I'm just going to leave all of this open. It shows I have 67 responses. So when I scroll down, I'm going to see links to all the individual form responses. I'm going to see a map plot of where they were submitted from, but I can also get graphical breakdowns from my form and say, well, gosh, we've got 67 near misses. Let's see how these distribute across our contractors. Let's see how these distribute across our different projects, okay? And so graphical breakdowns are at your fingertips, very easy to access this information. Individual forms look like this. So 3 time and date stamps for start, submit, and a 3rd for upload because those forms can be submitted offline. We're also going to capture how long it took them to complete the form. So if this is a job site safety walk that I expect should take half an hour, and Derek did his in 2 minutes, it's just a metric that we can understand, hey, this data probably doesn't have a lot of integrity to it because it wasn't done in the proper amount of time, okay?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, yeah.
And The GPS pin kind of goes in conjunction with that as far as some accountability to the observer. Is that is accurate to where they were when they clicked submit on the app, even if they were offline. So we're still going to be able to verify how long it took them to complete the form and where they were. We want to make sure that there weren't lots of safety walks that took less than 5 minutes and they were submitted from McDonald's, right? So just some accountability here on the back end for the administrators. We embed a link to the weather at the time that the form was submitted and a forecast through the end of the day. This can significantly help with your investigations of incidents where it is part of the form already and you can understand maybe the weather conditions at the time. You have your form submission results. You've got all of your follow-ups and they are color-coded based on status. You have your images, and then very helpful here is we capture a version history every time this form is edited as long as it lives, okay? So if a supervisor sees, oh my gosh, this is gonna make me look bad, I'm gonna go in and change the form data. You control whether they have the permission to do that, but you also have the ability to see who's making what changes and when to those forms. And then Paul, to answer your question here, on an individual form basis or a group of forms, you can email them very easily, or I could download that PDF. I can scrub, if I want to keep it kind of anonymous from the employee's perspective, I could scrub their name from the form, but it's going to export that particular form to a PDF. And this is where I can share this with whoever I'm needing to. So your company logo would be at the top, and then your images and all of your response data would be included.
And then Dagan, you can also, for particular reports that are important, set up like regularly scheduled things. So sort of set it, forget it if there's a particular report you want sent to people.
Absolutely. And that is way more helpful. So the data is at your fingertips, which is great. But to Abe's point, it's a lot more convenient if you know, well, I have some information that I want to know daily, weekly, monthly, however often. We handle that in the scheduled reports where you basically choose what data set you want to receive and how often you want to receive it. So maybe you want an equipment report every Monday morning at 6 a.m. so you can understand what equipment do I have on my projects that has an expiring inspection this week, right? Those are the only ones I care about, and I'm going to make sure that those people are inspecting those. These are all of the places in the system that these automated reports can come from. So it's not just form and inspection data. It is forms, employee information, training information, equipment, follow-up tasks. Maybe that's a daily report and you're making sure that people are actually knocking those follow-up assignments out. So kind of an exhaustive list there. We also have real-time alerts through email and push notification based on what you want to know. If a near miss is submitted with critical severity, I want a push notification on my phone. I'm going to get out of a meeting or make a phone call to engage in that. And kind of to wrap up the form side, we do have this OSHA case management module, which allows you to input all of your company establishments. Loading work hours is very easy. You can do it manually or with a spreadsheet. And as you do that, it's going to populate all of your OSHA 300, 300A, and 301 logs for each establishment. And it's going to calculate TRIR and DART statistical data. This would be a company overview. It's going to give you a breakdown by establishment, by project, by phase or contractor, if you're tracking those in your incidents as well. So forms, reporting, notifications, OSHA, that's all kind of one giant element it takes the longest to go through. Are there any questions on how any of that works?
My question is just on tech support. So are you guys available 24 hours or 9 to 5? Is it phone call, email, both?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We do have a help page that any site here, any page on this site is going to direct you to help guides and videos. And that's kind of your first line of defense on how do I blank? Well, we probably have a help document to guide you through that. As far as live support, all of our support staff is just down the street from me in Norman, Oklahoma. They're fantastic. We're kind of a 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Central type of access. So they're answering questions early in the morning when they wake up, and we'll handle things at the end of the day past 5. If you are a customer of ours, and I say this, and there is no hyperbole here, you're going to find out that I'm probably the dumbest person at this company as soon as you start talking to our support staff. Like they are fantastic. They are super helpful. And time after time after time, they are the reason that people recommend us to their competitors or, the people in their industry. It is our support staff. They're going to help you onboard your data. They're going to help you build some of your early forms. There is so much that you have control of. They're going to be helpful to you to learn those things, because the more you learn about the site, the less you need to lean on them. So very knowledgeable, very helpful. They are names you will get to know, and we're not going to let them go anywhere. So you will know those names for hopefully for the coming years as a customer. That's a great question. Equipment, again, is very flexible. We see equipment that needs regular inspections or audits, but we also see equipment that doesn't, just because it's a convenient place to track where company laptops are assigned. So every asset that you put in the system, we do have general contractors who treat projects as assets, and each project has a dedicated QR code that is up on the job trailer, and I can find out any data that is tied to that project. But for assets, you can put custom fields here to communicate and really track anything that you'd like on that piece of equipment. If we've got a really easy sticker exporter for these QR codes. So if I'm out on a job site and I walk up to this fire extinguisher, I can click that code scanner and I can access its profile data. So I can understand who's assigned responsibility of this inspection, what attachments accompany that, but I can also review all of its previous inspection history right there from my device. So very easy to get that data out. You can create parent-child relationships. If this is a project site that has 20 fire extinguishers in it, I want to wrap all of that up in one big inspection rather than having a project inspection and all of the ancillary fire extinguisher inspections. You can also assign the responsibility of those audits and inspections to more than one person. So if this is a project location or a vehicle, that on any given day, one of these 4 people are going to be on site. All 4 get a notification that an inspection is due. One person satisfying that inspection would remove that requirement from the other 3. In the control panel, I'll briefly show you where those acknowledgements, those sign-offs, alerts, where those go and live. They're here in the control panel. And then as an administrator, this is where I can review the performance of those. So I can see it was sent to 66 people, 62 have acknowledged, 4 have not. But if I scroll down, it's going to give me the name, time, and date, and then a signature if one was required of that particular alert. So we have had real-time cases where this box knife alert is actually a real case that was sent out from a customer in Pennsylvania. 2 weeks later, they had an employee use a pocket knife on location and severely injure his hand. And they were actually able to prove that employee, the employee immediately said, "Hey, no one told me that I couldn't use my pocket knife." So they were able to bring this up and say, well, if you're Carl Andrews on June 8th at 8:44 a.m., you signed off that was not the case. And that actually helped them save a significant amount of money. So being able to document that type of communication is very important. The resources tab, again, this is very simple. These can either be documents that live in our system as attachments. We do keep a versioning, so if you need to revert back to an older version, we will keep that history. So you could upload either physical documents, or these could simply be links to wherever you currently store them. But again, the goal being that in the app, I'm reducing the amount of places that my employees have to go for our important information.
Hey, Dagan, I apologize to interrupt. I'm actually on the West Coast, and I do need to jump to actually get my daughter over to school.
Oh, gosh, okay.
I apologize to do that, but I just wanted to say thank you, Paul and Angela, for having us on, and I will follow up with an email with more materials. But Dagan, if you don't mind, I'll let you close it on out.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Aiden.
Thank you.
So really the last thing I have to go over is training. So version 1 of our system really included everything here on the left for training, and that is kind of training management. We didn't have content. There were lots of groups out there that did, and we kind of felt like we were a little late to the content game. So what we included first was the training management, where you get to and we'll help you do this. We upload all of your training requirements, how often do they do, who's responsible for having them. And then you're able to, just like you can with forms, manually dig in and look at training data. You can look at it by topic, you can dig in by employee. And then this is also one of those scheduled reports that you're more than likely going to have. And every week, every month, I'm going to have a report of my training status, and I'm really only going to chase my gaps. Group training, so to give people credit for an in-person, instructor-led class or a toolbox talk, that's what we use this group training for. So you can create a couple topics here that we are going to go over. Maybe we're going to go over chemical awareness and ladder safety. Then you can either add the people that are walking up to that toolbox talk. So maybe I have this open up on my tablet out on the project site. I can add them here. I can scan the QR code if I have that on their hard hat or ID badge. Or I could say, you know what, I'm out on a certain project today. I'm on the Midland High School project. And let's see if that, and so here are my employees out on the Midland High School project. So now I have this digital roster. Well, we can also export that to a PDF, and it will populate a sign-in sheet. So now I can print this off. So if this is a classroom-based training, I have a sign-in sheet as they're walking into the class, and I'm actually capturing a physical signature of attendance that I can add as an attachment to this group training. And then maybe Irene wasn't able to make it, everyone else did. So from an admin or a trainer's perspective, it takes 2 clicks for me to give everyone a new certificate of completion for those 2 topics, and it resets their renewal rate for chemical awareness and ladder safety. So in-person training, we want to be able to manage very quickly as well. One-off trainings, that's kind of a corrective action item. If someone cuts their hand out on a job site, I can force them to take hand safety as a part of that corrective action. And then form to trainings would be anytime a form is submitted that would give someone a certificate of completion for a training requirement. So think any type of in-person like operator evaluations. I take forklift safety awareness on my phone. Now I have a new task in my app to take forklift operator evaluation. The alert says that Paul is my supervisor and that I need to schedule an in-person evaluation with Paul. I say, Paul, you're my supervisor. I need you to evaluate me on the forklift. I get on the forklift. Paul opens up the app and grabs the operator evaluation form for forklifts. I start doing some things to show proficiency on the forklift. Paul is grading me through that form, and the forms can be scored. So if I score a certain percentage or higher and Paul signs off on it, it gives me a certificate of completion for that in-person evaluation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the training management piece, and everything that I've shown you to this point is part of the system. We really don't price in segments. To us, it didn't make sense to do that. It makes more sense to have a holistic, all-in type of system. We do have one major optional add-on, and that's training content. We don't assume that people need our content. Some people have in-house content. They have a third party they're happy with. But we do have a pretty extensive library of training topics. We actually were acquired by KPA in 2020. But going into it, we had a list of lessons. We currently have about 933 topics divided into many categories. most of these categories are from KPA, this customizable training. This was the content that we created prior to being acquired by KPA. And it works a little bit different than like the standard off the shelf training that is available. That list of 85 lessons is called customizable because you can edit them in any way necessary to customize them for your ops. So this fire safety lesson, for instance, you can change the background music, you can adjust what your passing score requirement would be. But then these are the 28 slides that make up our OSHA spec fire safety lesson, okay? It takes approximately 12 minutes to complete. Unless it's a video, we try to stay between 20 and 25 seconds a slide, just to make sure we're keeping the attention of our student. But we got to a point where we saw people using safety lessons or safety content that the training content wasn't editable. And so for us, that was a limiter on how effective that content could be. Meaning contractors in Michigan in commercial construction, fire safety looks a lot different than a frac company out in West Texas, okay? Different tools, different equipment, different procedures. So why in the world would you take the same fire safety lesson, right? It didn't make sense to us. So from this, you have the ability, just like you can in forms, you could come in and add any of your own slides among this fire safety lesson. Maybe you have a piece of equipment, maybe there's a welder on site, and you're gonna take a picture of the welding equipment, and you're gonna create several slides saying, this is on a job site, this is the fire hazard associated with it, here's how to use this equipment safely, and here's how to respond if a fire exists from this piece of equipment, okay? So now you're getting really specific to your project, your operations, your procedures, your equipment. But you can also jump into any of the content that we provide you and make edits to it to make it more specific. You could swap out our bullets, our graphics, add your own videos. Anything that you type in this narration field is what's spoken over that slide. So you can see I've already gone in here. Paul, I picked on you a little bit here, but we can get an idea of what one of these, you have multiple narration options here, of what they're going to sound like as we kind of custom craft our lessons.
Here in Michigan, fire safety is very important. If you play with fire, Paul will be super mad.
So we don't want Paul to be super mad. So we're going to agree not to play with fire, but you can go in and adjust these to make them super custom craft to your company. And then you can adjust the quiz as well, because that's ultimately how you are measuring if the employee is ready to go out and be safe in with that particular topic. Add to the quiz, scrub our questions, build your own quiz, however you need to do that. So with that customizable content enabled, you can also build an unlimited amount of training from scratch. You could build new hire orientation. I saw this one a couple weeks ago and thought this was cool. How to complete a job site safety walk, right? So they created a lesson that was assigned to EHS supervisors. So anytime someone got promoted or hired and EHS supervisor is their title, they're automatically assigned this lesson. It was 6 slides and 3 quiz questions, okay? Because what they realized was, Eric, you are now, or Kathy, you're now responsible for job site safety walks. Go out and do them. Well, you're probably going to have learned them from your supervisor maybe, and then we're just counting on your supervisor being a good teacher. We're counting on your supervisor finding value in those safety walks and not telling you, hey, it doesn't matter, they're just a waste of time, no one's ever going to look at it, right? That is cultural poison, to take a Nick Saban term. So what they did is they said, hey, we're going to standardize the expectation. We're just going to let everybody know as soon as you qualify to have to do that, we're just going to do a really neat lesson and teach you what they are, why they're important, and how to do them correctly, okay? And then everybody's going to learn how to do that the same way. So unlimited amount of custom lessons that you can build. And then inside of Derek Brown's profile, he has the ability to come and choose the language that he wants to interact with the system in. So in Oklahoma, in the oil field, Mid-Con, Spanish is by far the second most common. Is there another language in Michigan that you'd like to see? Spanish?
Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah, just Spanish.
So if I swap to Spanish, now you can see Derek Brown's entire site experience translates to Spanish. He's going to fill out all of his forms and inspections in Spanish, right? Like going back to ease of use for the employee. He's going, those customizable lessons will also translate to Spanish. It'll translate all of the text as well as the narration.
Los objetivos de esta lección son discutir la seguridad general de la escalera. ¿Para cuál?
And he can set those settings himself, correct? We
That's
don't
right.
set
That's
those.
right.
Okay.
So we do have an API, which is a way that multiple systems can communicate and share data. So, you know, a common API connection would be like with your HR payroll software. So as employees come on, they will, you know, that software could create profiles in our system, and it could automate the language preference of that employee. So when they get their login, they don't have to navigate there and change that. It will automatically be in whatever language they prefer.
Perfect. Perfect.
So the last piece on the training side is an entire analytic. You know, we're going to analyze all of your individual data. That question of the day has its own dedicated analytic. But really what this allows you to do is, you know, measure how much time are we spending in training? How are we doing? You know, what's our average score across all of our different topics that we're doing? How are individual employees performing? You know, someone's up for an annual review. I'm going to pull their last 12 months of training, and we're going to talk about places that they can improve based on their training scores. This quiz breakdown here, I believe, is the most helpful aspect of the analytic. This is where we can understand as a trainer how our questions are performing. You know, there's a little bit of an art to writing a quiz question. It's populating a lot of data there. That's interesting. You know, and you may not realize that you accidentally had a second possible correct answer as a multiple choice, or you know, it's really common to include a question about information that you didn't have build slides for. You intended to, but you didn't build that slide about XYZ, but you asked a question about it, and it kind of catches your employees by surprise. So this is where, as a trainer, you get to continually evaluate, you know, how effective your quiz questions are. It starts with your top missed quiz questions, but it's going to give you, you know, question performance of all of your different topics that you can kind of measure performance on. So again, we're always trying to improve the product. SDS is the next major release that we've got. We're always working on it. We're never done. Customer feedback is a tremendous way that we understand where we need to take the software. And that's really important to us. But that is the elements of the platform. I'm happy to reconnect. Paul, Kathy, I can give you all access to this demo environment if it's helpful. If you want to play around with it, or if you know of anybody that you want to share it with, that's fine too. But I'm finished going through it. I know it does a lot, but if I can be available down the road, I'm certainly up for that. Just want to be as helpful as I can.
I can tell you, Megan, I'm certainly impressed. I really am. I'm going to be doing a lot of research in the KPA. There's as a safety dude, I like the data. I like that it's. I like all the stuff that you've shown us. You got an impressive system. I'm really impressed. You guys obviously are really in tune with what people need and want, the data that we need and want. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been years in the making. You wouldn't buy version 1, Paul, probably. So I'm glad you're seeing this version of it, but thank you. It's a lot of it has been based on our experience is what got us started, but our customer experience and feedback, like I said, continues to kind of lead where we take it. But thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
think it's your addition to the SDS things are really going to add to this total platform.
Yeah, we hope so.
So
That's a burr in the saddle of a lot of customers for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a huge add.
Yeah.
That's a good deal for you guys there. Nice.
So Dagan, I was able to record it, I think. So that's good. But we have a lot of members that, you know, maybe are not like Paul. Paul is the safety director of a large GC. But we have some small and mid-size member companies that, you know, oh crap, I've got to add safety to my,
Right.
you know, burden or my job title. I don't know where to start. Would you say this is a one-stop shop for them? Easily digestible for a small company that doesn't have a safety director and they don't really know where to go?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, you know, our expectation is yes. And, you know, coming from the oil field, it's the same story. It's, you know, ExxonMobil is a customer of ours, and Exxon's enormous. Exxon has enough resources to build their own software if they want. But we also have little mom and pop 6-employee companies in Pratt, Kansas, where it's all family owned. This is real. Like, it's a family owned coil tubing company in Pratt, Kansas. And mom is HR, safety, and billing. Like, mom wears 3 hats, and they're a customer of ours. And it simplifies it. You know, if your safety program, especially if it's going to be a condition or weigh into you getting work, it's important. So what we've tried to do is, you know, make a system that can get as complicated and convoluted and broad-based and regional and all of those kind of crazy permissions set up. But also, you know, this little family-owned business in Pratt, Kansas can get in here, and they are winning business because they have better analytics and a track record of being able to prove their safety over time than maybe some of their bigger competitors. So that is certainly the goal. And I will say, in this forms tab, there are a lot of groups like that, where this forms library, like they can really start from scratch on just downloading any and all of these. And then it's like, well, I need a DVIR. We have a delivery vehicle. It's commercial driver, and I need a DVIR. I'm just going to use that one. So some of those elements in there that we have that are kind of boilerplate certainly help those smaller groups who are really just transitioning into, oh, we need a safety program. We try to check as many boxes as possible.
Okay, my last question is pricing. Like you say, you can service a company with 6 employees versus a company with 400 employees. So how does that pricing work?
So we have tiered pricing. And that was kind of an oil field friendly mindset. We had some customers that you might be 400 employees this month, and 4 months from now, you might be 6, right? Like, that's the way the oil field works. Construction can be that way too if you're rolling off a project. So you might have this kind of ebb and flow of labor. And so we have user tiers. And so it's a range of users, like 0 to 25 is a pricing tier, 26 to 50, 51 to 75, et cetera. And in the larger tiers, they start to get in increments of 50 and 100 users. But what that would do is for a company of 6, it's priced on that 0 to 25, they have 6. It allows them to kind of grow throughout that. It's an annual subscription. So it allows them to, you know, grow throughout that 10, 11, 15 users, however many, and it doesn't change their cost basis throughout that annual subscription. So that's really what we've tried to do is not lock anybody in. We want you to be able to kind of land in an area and have room to grow without having to adjust your cost.
Okay, perfect. So would they reach out to you or Abe in terms of pricing? Do you give them like a demo for them to sample it? I'm just trying to see the best way to disseminate this information to our members and for them to get to experience it.
Yeah, so we would like to schedule a demo with them, it's going to look exactly, I mean, what I shared with you is what I would share with one of them if they got in contact with me. We just kind of want to walk through all the elements of the software. And then we do provide them, like I said, access after it's done. We'll just give them the login credentials to their demo environment and let them, you know, take a self-guided tour and develop additional questions. So I would guess, so I'm kind of over the oil and gas segment as far as inbound leads. That's kind of my niche. Construction on our sales side is kind of regionally based. So I believe your AE would, your account executive would be our sales rep out of Chicago, but they would do the same thing. They would schedule a time to connect and then walk them through the software. I would say it's probably safe to loop in Abe on that because he'll have more direct access to like who's the proper next person that they need to speak with.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, Paul, are you good? I think we lost some committee members. I know I would definitely like to share this with the rest of the committee. I was able to record it. If that didn't work out, I'll contact you, Dagan, for some more substantial like PowerPoints or some type of demo. But I think that's all set. Paul, do you have any other questions?
No, just a thank you, Dagan. You know, I know Angela said it not only from Greater Michigan, but as a member of the National Health and Safety Committee, thank you from ABC National for being involved like you are.
You're welcome.
This is nice to see this, and I can tell you for myself personally, I'm really interested. I'm going to reach out to you guys and set some things up. So
that's great.
Thank you for your time today, Dagan. Very informative, good stuff.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. And I do believe we have, you know, ABC has kind of a discount with our relationship and the sponsor relationship there. I do believe I don't know what it is because I'm not on that construction side, but I do believe there's an incentive built in on the pricing model for ABC members. So, but thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity to show you what we've been working on for the last few years. And I appreciate the feedback. That's really encouraging.
Good stuff, Dagan. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.